12 arrested as service delivery protesters clash with police in Meyerton. The lawyer representing 7 SABC journalists says disciplinary procedures were not properly followed. It's Friday. Hello and welcome to it. You're watching eNEWS Direct. I'm Tuduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandy Legangose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNEWS Direct.
And tonight our hashtags are Meyerton and SABC8.
Violent protests continue in Meyerton in Gauteng's Vaal region after relative calm overnight. Police say 12 people have been arrested, but it seems the protesters are not backing down. Midvaal is the only municipality in Gauteng run by the DA.
Demanding better service delivery and housing. These angry protesters have taken to the streets of Meyerton. They attempted to shut down the R59 highway, but police officers fired rubber bullets and tear gas to push them back.
We are here today fighting for, we want a place to stay in Midvaal. We are living in houses here, we're renting out people's places for 450. We've done this before, but Midvaal doesn't take it very seriously.
The municipality admits there are housing problems, but says its hands are tied.
There's a legitimate concern. Midvaal has approved about 4 housing developments, which would easily target and give up housing opportunities to 2,500 people. Of those housing developments, only 140 have been delivered by the provincial government due to various subcontractors or contractors appointed by the provincial government, which have not fulfilled and filed for bankruptcy and them having to start the process again. And I must remind our residents, and as we've always reminded them, that housing is a provincial competence.
The mayor believes political meddling is stoking the anger and fears for his life.
This is proved by an incident that happened where the police were dispersing a crowd which demanded to see me. And from amongst the crowd, a fully loaded gun fell, which the police confiscated and found to be a gun which is illegal. So it certainly points to one conclusion, that this is targeted towards me to ensure that there is no Bongani come the 3rd of August.
The protests come with elections just over a week away. The DA-controlled Midvaal municipality is a big election prize, and to what extent these protests will influence voters will become clearer come August the 3rd. Linya Ruselo, Meyerton.
Dissatisfied communities could become the gateway to violent extremism in South Africa. The warning comes from the Institute of Security Studies. Experts believe terrorists are likely to exploit local frustrations. They say de-radicalization of extremist recruits must be prioritized to avoid any loss of life.
Local security experts believe attacks by extremists can be avoided. But to do so, the country needs to be fixed from within. The Institute of Security Studies says South Africa, like many countries, isn't immune to such violence. But what makes us vulnerable is our social makeup.
If we want to find out how Islamic State can really come here and exploit certain communities, it will surely be communities where you have high crime rate, communities where organized crime will be high, because they will start off from there in order to raise resources.
With high youth unemployment, youngsters are likely to be easy targets for terrorist movements.
Violent extremism is not something that is limited to a certain religion or to ideology that is linked to religion, because there's a tendency to equate the two and to forget about any issues of marginalization.
Authorities say radicalization isn't illegal, but aiding violent extremist group is and will land you in jail.
Including to provide or offering to provide a skill or an expertise is guilty of an offence, and you can be sent to jail for 15 years.
The ISS advises government to update the public regularly on threats to the country. It also says de-radicalization programs should be tailored to meet local conditions. Laranzo Tamba, Pretoria.
The judge hearing arguments on the dismissal of 7 SABC journalists will deliver his judgment next week. Earlier, a lawyer representing the axed employees said the public broadcaster was intent on preventing any internal or external debate about the protest policy. Union Solidarity, which is representing 4 of the 7 fired employees, wants their dismissals set aside. It says all disciplinary proceedings should be halted pending a court review of the SABC's editorial changes. Earlier this week, the broadcaster did an about-turn when it agreed to abide by a decision by ICASA. The regulator ordered it to lift the ban on visuals of violence during protests. Solidarity lawyer Stephen Butlander explains why the dismissals of the employees were unlawful. He went back to an editorial meeting held on the 31st of May.
During the meeting, it was made clear that the SABC wanted complete compliance with the protest policy and did not want any criticism of the protest policy aired, even if it was criticism by independent analysts. That Mr. Motsoeneng stated, and this is quoted in the founding papers, and your Lordship will see from the attached Constitutional Court papers that in that court the notes of the meeting from Mr. Kricher are put up. But in any event, there's no denial from anyone, no meaningful denial from anyone, including Mr. Motsoeneng, that Mr. Motsoeneng said to that meeting, if people do not adhere, get rid of them. We cannot have people who question management. This is the last time we have a meeting of this kind. And that in that same meeting, Mr. Jimmy Matthews, who was then the CEO, said, it is cold outside. If you do not like it, you can go. You've got 2 choices, the door or the window.
Well, SABC lawyer Tembas Kosana says the Labour Court should not be hearing the case of the 4 ex-journalists. He says the employees should rather approach the CCMA as it's an issue between the employer and employee.
We submit, of course, that the only constitutional issue that can be raised in this case would be an issue relating to Section 23 of the Constitution, which is the right to a fair labor practice, which is now codified under the Labour Relations Act. My Lord, the issue of the rights of freedom of expression under Section 16 of the Constitution does not arise simply because this is an employer-employee relationship and there is a breach of contract. It's not relevant for purposes of this argument what the issues were between the parties, between the employer and employees. But my Lord, it is an issue between employer and employee.
The International AIDS Conference has wrapped up in Durban, with delegates saying they are optimistic about the world's fight against HIV/AIDS. Over the past 5 days, delegates have been presented with the latest in HIV research and treatment. While there were renewed calls for more funding, Doctors Without Borders says the cost of treatment remains a concern as a result of the monopoly of some pharmaceutical companies.
In 2000, first-line HIV treatment cost $10,000 per person per year. Now, it's about $100. But a Doctors Without Borders report shows new drugs are just too expensive.
The real problem lies when we get to the salvage treatment or the third-line option for people who have run out of other choices for their treatment for HIV. And at that point, the lowest price that we've published is $1,859, which, I mean, that in itself is a significant increase of 18 times the price of first-line treatment. But we actually know that many countries, low middle-income countries, upper middle, they're paying a lot more.
The study shows that some major pharmaceutical companies keep prices high by blocking generic drugs from reaching the market. Most of the world's generic HIV drugs are produced in India. But Doctors Without Borders says the country is under immense pressure to change its patent law. The falling price of basic HIV drugs is helping South Africa's government reach more people. As of September, a person's CD4 count won't be a factor anymore in determining whether they receive antiretrovirals. It's part of a new test and treat program made possible with a R1 billion budget. And the health minister says it won't put hospitals under any more pressure.
Patients who are stable, very stable, who are just coming to the clinic to cure and get medicines, they must no longer come to the clinic or hospitals. They must find a place where they will deliver the medicine and they collect. We call it the chronic medication program.
UNAIDS estimates about 7 million South Africans are living with HIV. Desan Thathia, Durban.
In news making international headlines, the bodies of 22 refugees have arrived in the Sicilian port of Trapani. They were found dead on board a rubber dinghy off the Libyan coast. Over 200 other refugees were rescued alive off a second boat. According to the International Organization for Migration, some 3,000 people have died or have been reported missing this year trying to reach the EU by sea. Hundreds of people displaced by fighting in South Sudan are struggling to find decent shelter as severe weather approaches. Authorities are also concerned by a suspected outbreak of cholera. The UN's World Food Programme says fighting in Juba has forced many traders and markets to close their doors, raising fears of dwindling food supplies. And Donald Trump has officially accepted the Republican presidential nomination. The businessman closed the party's four-day convention in Ohio by delivering a 75-minute speech. The event was boycotted by some big-name Republicans, including 2012 nominee Mitt Romney and members of the Bush family. Guzulu's body has arrived back in the country. He died in Tanzania on Monday morning after showing flu-like symptoms. Zulu was part of the Trek for Mandela team on a journey to summit Mount Kilimanjaro. The 38-year-old racing champ is survived by his wife and daughter. Zulu will be laid to rest next week. We end with this. Zimbabwe's Liberation War Veterans Association is calling on President Robert Mugabe to step down. In a strongly worded statement, the association says it will withdraw its support of the president in the 2018 elections. It also accuses Mugabe of failing to address the country's economic woes, including banks running short of money and the government struggling to pay its workers. Remember, if you've missed any of our stories, you can, of course, check us out on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNEWS Direct, or you can head on over to our website. That's eNCA.com/direct. We've got all your business news after the break, as well as your weekend weather forecast. Money Matters now. In a bid to boost its share of the market dominated by Vodacom and MTN, Telecom Mobile is lowering its prices. Telecom has been struggling to expand its mobile business. It walked away from the acquisition of Cell C last year after they couldn't agree on a price. It's now offering would-be customers smartphone packages ranging from 99 Rand for a gigabyte of data to 1,000 Rand on an unlimited contract. According to data released by Research ICT Africa this week, Vodacom and MTN charge customers as much as 150 Rand for a gig of data. Telecom Mobile was set up more than 5 years ago and has just 2.6% of the mobile market. Let's see how the markets perform today. Here's Joel Guy with your weather forecast.
Good evening, everyone. We stayed with cloudy skies giving us isolated showers throughout Friday across the southern parts of the country. The cloud has already started to spill into the southern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, but we stayed with clear skies for the rest of South Africa. Saturday should see partly cloudy to cloudy skies persisting over the Cape provinces. The cloud should give us very isolated showers across parts of the western and eastern Cape provinces, but further east, scattered rainfall is forecast across KwaZulu-Natal. We should also see significant snowfalls across Lesotho, the southwestern parts of the KwaZulu-Natal province, as well as the northeastern areas of the Eastern Cape. Mostly sunny skies will persist for the rest of the country, but it's going to be pretty chilly for the western and southern parts of South Africa. Now, KZN is going to be mostly cloudy with scattered rainfall in places. Cooler temperatures are forecast for much of the province. Durban and Port Shepstone peaking at just around 18 degrees. It's going to be colder across the Eastern Cape with passing showers forecast for the bulk of the province. Very cold as well overnight for the northern sections. A chilly Saturday is is also forecast for the Western Cape, where touch-and-go showers are forecasted throughout Saturday. Cape Town peaking at just around 14 degrees. It's going to be dry but chilly as well for the Northern Cape. Temperatures starting at -7 for Sutherland and peaking at just about 5 degrees. Mostly sunny skies should persist for the Free State, with highs in the mid to upper teens in the afternoon. We are expecting mostly clear skies once again for the northwest, where temperatures are going to be in the lower 20s for much of the province. Sunny and warmer weather is forecast across Limpopo, hot over the Lowveld areas, Polokwane peaking at 26 degrees. It's going to be sunny once again for Mpumalanga, Mbombela reaching a high of around 27. Clear skies are forecast for Gauteng, Johannesburg and Soweto, peaking at around 22. We have a cutoff low that gives us scattered rainfall and thunderstorms on Sunday for the eastern parts of the country. Then on Monday, the same system will give us scattered rainfall and thunderstorms for the bulk of South Africa.
Thank you, Joel. Here's what's coming up after the break.
Wanna be right here where you are.
We catch up with the group that brought you the smash hit Kiss and Say Goodbye. Welcome back. South Africans can't seem to get enough of legendary R&B group The Manhattans.
Yep, the Kiss and Say Goodbye hitmakers have been in demand since 1996.
And they're back performing in Johannesburg and Cape Town.
Yep, and they're sharing the stage with Grammy award-winning songstress Regina Bell.
We caught up with them ahead of their opening show at Monte Casino.
It's these nostalgic classics that have contributed to the 55-year success story of legendary R&B group The Manhattans. Formed in the 60s, they've enjoyed an illustrious career, selling 40 million albums of chart-topping hits.
The Manhattans, second to the United States. South Africa, we have sold more records than any other country in the world. Wow. Second to the United States. And it's a wonderful feeling. I remember from the very first time we performed here, the feeling, the spirit that we got from the fans, you know, it was unbelievable. And my father taught me that you sing songs that you believe in, songs that you can identify with. Songs that you don't believe in, you can identify with, you will not give your all.
The multi-award-winning R&B legends have returned to South Africa with a 4-time Grammy winner, Regina Bell.
I'm really glad to be back with my friend over here. Without the Manhattans, there would be no Regina Bell.
Happy birthday to you.
And since it's Regina's birthday month,
Happy birthday, Regina.
They snuck in this surprise.
Happy birthday to you.
Nondabeko SABC, Johannesburg.
Happy birthday, baby.
Thank you.
Here's a recap of your main stories. 12 arrested as service delivery protesters clash with police in Meyerton. The lawyer representing 7 SABC journalists say disciplinary procedures were not properly followed. And that's a lot for the week. Our weekend team will take care of you until Monday.
It is indeed. Rhythm City's up next. We're back in 72 hours.
We do love to hear from you. You can send us an email to enewsdirect@etv.co.za.
Or, of course, just talk to us on Twitter and Facebook, and our handle is @eNewsDirect.
Until Monday night, have a fantastic weekend. Bye-bye.